Diego Andaluz, who's sort of like a freelance journalist, sort of did like a retweet and was like, yes, they are looking at Daniel Day-Lewis, but to Jessica's point, they might not get him. But then he came in and gave some other names. Bryan Cranston as Professor X, Cynthia Erivo as Storm, Stephen Yeun, now rumored for a role in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Welcome back to the Breakroom! Battle World! Stephen Yeun tries Marvel again. Jessica Jones is back.
Oh, yeah.
The Last of Us goes ACAB. We're not going to get to that in this show, but tomorrow's show we will. We're back, baby. It's the headline show. Hit the graphic. I'm John Costa. Joining me today, he's only here to talk Sesame Street. It's Zach Huddleston.
Yeah, it's all of us are living in Elmo's world, okay?
That's right. Confirmed to be returning for Daredevil Season 2, it's Jessica Clemons?
And I have the butt to prove it.
And she snuck onto the Doomsday set so that we could get some sneaky leaks. It's Gina Ippolito.
Damage hasn't been done, bitches.
That's
Damage
right.
has been done.
Hey, what we're gonna go over today, we got X-Men casting rumors, we've got Doomsday set leaks, we've got Spider-Man, and more Spider-Man. It's a packed headlines show today. We're happy to have you. Before we begin, we want to shout out our buddies over at nerdriot.shop. And when I say our buddies, like kind of talking about ourselves. Get yourself some good merch. Look at Zach's got Ellie's tattoo on
Gina's got the helmet.
Gina's
Yeah,
got,
I love this one.
If you're late on May the 4th, you've got some great Star Wars helmet designs.
Yeah.
If you love the new Avengers movie, we've got a big asterisk on this shirt with some cool players here.
A big asterisk.
What else is going on? You know, we got a bunch of cool stuff. Go over to the site,
cool
browse.
stuff.
It's awesome. Let's just get right into the show. There's a lot to talk about. Over the weekend and maybe at the end of last week, some X-Men casting rumors.
So many rumors.
Rumors, I want to emphasize, started to come in. Specifically, what kicked it all off was Scooper, My Time to Shine Hello, tweeted that Marvel Studios was looking at Daniel Day-Lewis, once-in-a-generation talent, once-in-a-generation retired actor, to play Magneto in the upcoming X-Men film, and presumably films beyond that. Now, I want to start by saying, My Time to Shine Hello doesn't have a great casting
Track record.
They previously had said Mila Kunis was going to be playing the Thing in the Fantastic Four movie.
What?
You know, hey, look,
Teach
shoot
them.
your shot. You know what I'm saying?
I also don't think it's, to be fair, Marvel can look at 1 million actors to play a different, a robust amount of roles. Who is the CAA agent that they always go with? Marvel, it's Sarah something, whatever.
Sarah
Haley
Haley Finn is their
Yeah.
casting director.
Yeah, I'm sure she is sending out as many as she can.
Yeah.
I would love to get Daniel Day-Lewis. I'm going to extend that offer. He will probably say no.
Well, let me say,
There's no way he would be like, get off my lawn.
the rest of the group, so
That's first and fourth.
we got this news about Daniel Day-Lewis, and then Diego Andaluz, who's sort of like a freelance journalist, who's working at, I think, at Warner Brothers right now, but has worked, done some freelance work for Deadline and Variety, but most actively at discussing film, sort of did like a retweet and was like, yes, they are looking at Daniel Day-Lewis, but to Jessica's point,
Is he
they
looking
might not
back?
get him. But then
You can
he
look all
came
you
in
want.
and gave some other names. Bryan Cranston as Professor X, Cynthia Erivo as Storm. And then we've been also hearing, Jess and I were talking earlier today, Margaret Qualley potentially playing Rogue,
Yeah.
and Sadie Sink potentially playing Jean
That's
Grey.
an old one. That's an old
There's
one.
some old ones knocking around.
Casting directors make a list. Like they start with a list, and they have not talked to anyone before they make this list. They're just like, yeah, who's gonna play Cookie Monster in the live action Cookie Monster? Let's throw some names out. And then they make a list of 30 to 50 of their top choices.
Yeah.
And it's like anyone that is pops into their mind. It's like the ADD of casting, and then they give it to the director or the writer or the showrunner or whatever. And you start circling the ones that you want to approach, and that narrows down to 20, and then you go out to maybe 10.
Yeah, and a lot of these names, maybe with the exception of Daniel Day-Lewis and Bryan Cranston, Margaret Qualley's name's getting thrown out for everything right now.
Everything.
Yeah. Cynthia Erivo.
Yeah. Also,
Is this the 1000th time we've heard her associated with Storm, right?
Yeah.
And Sadie Sink, though, don't you think her being in the next Spider-Man movie probably takes her off the table for an X-Men role?
A lot of these sound like, hey, who's bald? Who do we see who's bald?
Who's black? Who's a redhead?
Who's a redhead? Yeah. Like, it's just like, give me a list of every famous black woman that's like been in something in the last 5 years.
Yeah, and exactly. That's what their casting person is probably doing.
Exactly.
They're probably like, okay, Cynthia Erivo. I don't know many black women. This is the voice as their
Have we already
casting.
used Angela Bassett for something?
Angela Bassett. She's already in there.
Jussie Smollett.
What's the one from The Walking Dead? She's also in there. Oh, God.
Wait, Journey Smollett.
Yeah, I was like,
Damn, why'd you name
That'd
your
be
kids
some
so
real innovative casting.
That'd be crazy.
Why'd you name your kids so similar?
Their names are the same.
Circling back to the generalities, and we're going to start hearing a lot about this, though the next X-Men movie is not slated, doesn't it feel like this is a 2027, right? Like they're going to wrap up with Secret Wars and then want to kick right into, like maybe we get Secret Wars summer of 27, fall of 27 we get first X-Men movie.
I think they want to milk that announcement for a while. I think
Yeah.
think 2026, if they announced it at like D23 or Comic-Con, then they've got like a full year to be like, oh, can you imagine?
Well, don't you think, I mean, we're about to talk about Doomsday Leaks, right? That is in full production right now. We're going to start getting a lot of news about that. We already have seen the pictures of Channing Tatum and Chris Hemsworth in London or whatever. Well,
Spoilers.
not too long after that, and some concurrently, they're going to start shooting Secret Wars. And there's going to be newly casted characters in Secret Wars.
What did you just say? Did you say newly casted?
Newly cast?
Cast, man. It's cast. There's no
Newly
past tense of
casted?
cast.
I thought you said newly, and I was like, oh.
Newly hired, but like presumably because they've already got 30 chairs worth of people squeezed into Doomsday.
Yeah.
They're not going to give us a lot of new characters. They're going to show us these old X-Men just to whack them off. Whack them off.
well, speaking of
earmuffs.
whacking him off, I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis, that's the kind of actor you get to kill. Because you're not going to sign Daniel Day-Lewis to a 7-picture deal,
Listen,
right?
Daniel Day-Lewis has retired many times. He's come out of retirement, but he's come out of retirement. He's like an art house boy.
He's an art house boy, and he only recently came out of retirement to start a movie that was directed by his son.
Right. The only times he comes out are like if the world's most least famous art house director is like, I would like Daniel Day-Lewis in this. I don't think this is not his thing. So these rumors are insane to me. He's not like a Harrison Ford type who's like, yeah, I'll do anything. Like, pay me enough and I'll be there. Daniel Day-Lewis is like, I live in a shack in the woods. Leave me alone.
He's also.
I want to study my craft.
We just looked him up. He's 68 years old. Which like maybe also if you're investing in the next 10 years of X-Men cast, maybe you don't cast a 68-year-old for a key role. So maybe either all of this is false, they're not looking at him, or they're just throwing out insane names to get attention. Or it is like maybe it's a weird stunt casting thing where they have him killed.
I think in like just journalist approach that we're doing nowadays with headlines, that out of the list of 50 people was probably the actor that would get the most like all of us yelling about it.
Because it's nuts.
Because it's insane.
Also, a lot of times casting directors will do like, here's pie in the sky.
Yeah.
Here's realistically what we could get. Here's like people that are offer only and they won't audition for the role of Magneto.
Yeah,
it's like usually 3 tiers.
That's Daniel Day-Lewis. But I do think it is actually very interesting because I know that if this is Sarah, that she's been doing this for a long time, that I'm like, oh, are you expecting to get someone that's going to die really soon if you're reaching out to Daniel Day-Lewis?
Right. Yeah.
If this is, because I think this is also, I only cast digital in some television. But I do, when we are casting, it's like, okay, how long do we have this person for? Let's make sure it's the biggest one we can get. Like, if we have enough money to put him on an episode, I'm going to drop $20,000 for this guy to show up for 1 hour and then like 5 on the other guy. But
it is the one thing, again, I think this is a 0.001% chance of coming true. But I will say, doesn't it feel like Marvel might be at the stage, like with the RDJ as Doom, where they're like, we need casting that puts butts in seats even just out of curiosity.
100.
We can no longer do the Chris Hemsworth as Thor back in the day where we take a relative unknown who's a good fit. But like, because Thor is the brand, not Hemsworth.
But my rebuttal is, I think this generation of like Marvel fans would be like, Daniel Day-Lewis? I think I was a film student and we watched My Left Foot and all these other things, and they know him. They're like, hey, he was in that movie with DiCaprio that like came out five years after I was born or whatever. But like Daniel Day-Lewis to the art house crowd would get the art house crowd in the seats.
I would counter with, and now this is not the best testament because the movie's not going to make $1 billion, but like, how did they market Thunderbolts? The A24 Marvel movie, right?
Yeah.
And
which Jake Schreier coming back for X-Men.
But it's still not, none of that cast member is Daniel Day-Lewis.
Right.
I saw Daniel Day-Lewis for the first time. I also was watching movies I should not have been watching at my age. Gangs of New York. When I was in kindergarten. But
that's
I will
what
say,
I'm talking about,
I
5
think,
years.
But I will say, I don't mean to age myself, but I will say, I think Daniel Day-Lewis is for us, is for our age. The Sydney Sweeneys are for the younger kids.
Yeah.
So that's why they're getting like Florence Pugh and these people that are very young.
But he's not like a mainstream. He's not.
He's never,
don't come at me. I love Daniel Day-Lewis. I've probably seen more of his movies than most people, but he's a very like niche art house.
He's never
talent.
cashed in. He's never done an Indiana Jones or a Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I don't think
Indiana
he's going to start now. I don't think he's going to come out of retirement to be like, yeah, let me do this huge franchise.
100.
I think, obviously people in the chat are talking about like the money element of it. It's possible that they want to spend a lot of money on getting this name. But also like, let's not take away the fact that Daniel Day-Lewis is widely considered one of the greatest actors of living today,
Does he have 3 Best Actor
I
awards?
don't know about
He's at least 2
Again, I'm not trying.
He's
I'm not trying
great,
to give.
but-
I'm not trying to literally fan the flames. I get where Gina's coming from, where young people might not know that.
Listen, we got someone in the chat
Do you
that
know
says,
what's trending right now? Is people don't know who Emmett Till is. Like, kids don't know who Emmett Till is.
I mean, look, Shree in the chat says, I haven't seen a single Daniel Day-Lewis movie in full, I believe. And they say Gen Z here.
Hey,
I'm
stop reading my
just
laptop.
saying.
Get out of here.
John typed it.
What do we got? What do we got? What's John?
Go watch Age of Innocence.
Go watch
There Will Be Blood.
Go watch Gangs
Gangs
of New York.
So
Yeah.
there's also people in the chat saying maybe Leonardo DiCaprio will convince him to do this movie. I don't know why Leo
No,
would.
Leo
Leo
that's
would
the opposite.
What?
Famously, Leo DiCaprio
He's not
talks
really
to
into
everybody
sequels.
about don't do franchises,
Never
don't
done
do
it.
That's what I'm saying,
But I
because there's
think
so many
he's-
25-year-olds in that franchise.
But I also think people who don't know Daniel Day-Lewis don't know that he's not. People have tried to throw money at him for
Yeah,
years,
no,
so
he
this
won't
is
take
not
it.
a money thing. And I realize Marvel has a lot of money. He isn't the type of guy. In fact, like he's like the type of guy that would be like, gross, get away from me. You're offering me how much? Like this isn't. He doesn't act for the money. He's like a singular talent that only has picked careers that he like has picked movies that he really believes in. Like go look him up, go Wikipedia him if you haven't heard of him. He's not doing anything for the money.
Yeah,
Well, all I'm saying is maybe his shoe cobbling Welsh business, speaking of which, is not doing so well, and he needs a little bit of a cash injection. You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing. Much like RDJ is Doom, if Feige, Hall H, San Diego Comic-Con walks out and is like, welcome to the stage, Daniel Day-Lewis.
I mean, it's crazy.
Dog, Meltdown
I don't
City,
think
okay?
Gina,
Meltdown
that
City.
isn't not even in the same rotation as Gina guessing Robert Downey Jr. I think there's no way
not. It's
Daniel
not.
Day-Lewis is gonna step out.
Yeah, it's not.
You're right. I mean, that is like
That'd
something
be
out of the
so-
studio or
I would-
Entourage rather than like
would-
reality.
I would have a heart attack. I would be like, that's insane. He's here in front of us while the Fantastic Car flies above his head.
I also think, like, we don't know, there's been rumors about who's going to direct the X-Men movie, but there's no official director yet.
Right.
Like, could that lean in one direction? I mean, what if they get
Scorsese.
Paul Thomas Anderson? I mean, no, those two are not doing it.
Right.
But what if they get like an indie darling to direct that film?
I don't think it's gonna happen. Daniel Day-Lewis has not done a movie in this era of constant internet bombardment.
Phantom Thread was his last film. That was maybe 2018.
And that was, and again, that was like very specific circumstances. Like the last like big, like sort of what could be described as like a blockbuster, but directed by an artsy type guy was Gangs of New York.
Well, no, he's done Lincoln since then.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's true, but he hasn't like been thrown into the fray of like people being like, wait, let me critique this choice from my keyboard. Like he hasn't been like Daniel Day-Lewis would not do something and then like get keyboard warriored. Like he's not doing anything in 2025 that's big enough for people to be like dissecting his work. He's just grossed out by the Hollywoodness of everything.
I can see it.
Hey, I was just up north. My grandmother turned 92 years old, and I was up in Portland, Pacific Northwest. Man, the weather there is kind of weird. And having my Vessi shoes was kind of a lifesaver because when I'm traveling, I don't want to bring a bunch of different pairs of shoes. But Vessis are great because if you're walking around, they're super comfortable. If it's raining, they're weatherproof. They're a really great pair of shoes. And, you know, it's been sunny in LA, so I can just slip those puppies on and they breathe really nicely as well. Having a pair of Vessis means you can still walk the dog, go get coffee, run into the office and do whatever else you need without having to lug around a pair of backup boots with you. Who wants those muddy boots in the trunk of your car anyways? Every pair of Vessis is lightweight, weatherproof, and durable enough that you can wear them every day without worrying about wearing them out. Lately, I've been wearing the Weekend sneaker. There they are. There's zero compromise with a pair of Vessis. They're the best looking sneakers that I own, and somehow they're also the most functional ones too. Make every day a little easier by visiting vessi.com/breakroom now for 15% off your first pair at checkout and start exploring with confidence. Speaking of some of the people that have been brought up in the chat, this is a very fan-casty question. If they were to get Leo, which they won't, but everyone in the chat is talking about Leo, who would you want him to play in terms of the mutants?
A turd?
Maybe a
butt?
Oh, poop from a butt?
Maybe poop from a butt? Poop from Beast's butt?
The thing about Leo is, like, you have to assume you're not getting him for multiple films.
Right.
So I feel like you have to use him as a villain.
And he's sort of in a weird age category this property specifically, where it's like a lot of young people and then a lot of oldies.
Leo as like a striker type.
Okay, sure.
That's
kind of channeling his Candy character from Django Unchained or whatever, and really like villainous, like gross.
I mean, the world of the X-Men are like, that like OG generation of mutants, which is like Professor X, Magneto, and then like the sort of like mid-range, which is, Scott, and then there's like the new mutants. And Leo is like in between all of them, like in between those.
Right.
I think he might be 50 years old.
The rumor is that Mr. Sinister is going to be the villain of this movie. Maybe that is a fun fit for Leo.
No, I wanted to be someone else.
Hey, I'm not saying...
I wanted to be someone more like, I'm weird and meticulous.
Yes, as somebody who's really campy kind of. But also like Mr. Sinister, who is like, what canonically like 100 years old or whatever in the comics, right? He's from like the turn of the century.
Right.
And like, at least me, I don't know about everybody else, but like, because he's played so many period piece, like Shutter Island, The Aviator, or whatever.
He fits
like,
into that
he
kind of
can kind of be somebody who was born a century ago.
Listen, bring back Aaron Taylor Johnson. If you saw Nosferatu and he was like, "What is this poppycock?"
That's also the thing is, I want Mr. Sinister to look. He has to be old, but he has to have that face pulled all the way back. And I think Aaron could do that.
Yeah.
One other piece of X-Men news that we got a working title for the film, Chunnel. Which is the kind of nickname for the Channel Tunnel, which is the tunnel between England and France under the English Tunnel there.
English Channel.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was also a joke film in the Seinfeld series.
Yes.
In the
I was just about to bring that up, and I was like, no one's old enough to get this reference.
And interestingly enough, the working title for, I believe it was Spider-Man Far From Home, was Serenity Now, another Seinfeld.
I think John Watts used Seinfeld references, I think, for the working titles of all three Spider-Man.
So I want to speculate a little bit what Chunnel could mean in relation to this film, and maybe there's nothing to speculate on, but we'll have some fun. Because, again, we just heard the working title for Sinners was grilled cheese. That doesn't really have anything to do with that movie. Ryan Coogler said like we were calling it grilled cheese because we didn't have a name for the movie yet.
Can we do a quick sidetrack on what working title means? So when productions, which are inevitably like little mini corporations, small businesses, they have to spin up.
Everyone has an LLC
just for this movie, right? And they're dealing with vendors and cast and like tons of people have to be involved in this. And so they don't, especially for a big IP movie, they don't want to be like Avengers or X-Men or something like that. And you don't want like signs. If you drive around Los Angeles, maybe less so now, but it used to be if you drive around Los Angeles, there were these yellow signs. They would hang up. There'd be like, this way to parking for this production.
Yeah.
And they never list what the production is. It's always like pancakes or
face burn.
Or something like that. Because again, they know that if you put this way to parking for X-Men or Avengers Doomsday, you're going to get weirdos showing up where they shouldn't.
Yeah, so famously, like, Star Wars was Blue Harvest. That ended up being the title of the Family Guy parody episode that they made.
That's funny. Also, because Thunderbolts was Oops, All Berries, or whatever, because they were all the mistakes.
And they called Sinners Grilled Cheese because Ryan Coogler said, like, we didn't have a title for this movie, and I was making all these like big Marvel movies and all this kind of stuff, and they're like so intensive, and he was like, I just want to make a movie that feels like making a grilled cheese.
Oh, I love that.
And so they just started calling Sinners Grilled Cheese until they found the title of the movie. So like, it's very possible that Chunnel doesn't have much to do with this film, but you know, where do you guys think that it could, like, why would you call it this?
I think, you know, like, to me, it almost has like a X-Men United vibe. Like, if it's like a Chunnel, which is about like bridging something, like maybe it's like, oh, the X-Men have to pair up with like, you know, Magneto's crew, and they're forming a bridge before they're all killed.
I mean, my speculation brain was going like, oh, is it a transition between the old X-Men movies and this new kind of crop of actors and not New Mutants, but you know, these New Mutants.
Yeah.
Also, is it just because they're shooting in London for the tax breaks?
Hey,
yeah. And someone was like,
possible.
hey, that's a fun word.
Chunnel. Now, how much am I paying again?
Who knows?
Who knows?
I guess is the
it's fun. It always is a fun headline and gives us something to talk about for one day.
Yeah. This news is a little stale, but we didn't talk about it on the break room. It was announced at Upfronts last week. Charlie Cox said Jessica Jones is returning for Daredevil Born Again Season 2.
Hell yeah.
We were, you know, I think the internet was speculating that was probably going to happen.
Do we think we see more of Jessica Jones in Daredevil Season 2 than we saw of John Bernthal's Punisher in Daredevil Season 1?
Oh, that's a great question.
I bet, because it felt like the Punisher was a reshoot thing, right?
Yeah.
And so now that they know their whole plan for the season,
Yeah.
they'll have more Barenthal, they'll probably have more Jessica Jones.
But it's not going to be more Jessica Jones. It's not going to be Jessica Jones and Daredevil. It's
Right,
still
right,
Daredevil
right.
with a little sprinkle of
But
Jessica
they
Jones.
were, I mean, honestly, in the Defenders, their dynamic
Yeah, it was the
so good. It was like, it was the best. I mean, I also really liked like the Iron Fist Luke Cage dynamic. I know people aren't, but that was when
them
Iron
just
Cage
physically
had
fighting all the time.
No, like they were like sort of like trying to understand each other. They had a conversation about race, like, but like, yeah, like with Jessica Jones and like Daredevil, like she was like the only one that was like, you're an idiot, and like I'm sick of this, and he's like, yeah, drink some more, and like it's like, yeah, I like this weird dynamic where they're both calling each other on their shit.
Now, we got a Harlem's Paradise Easter egg in Daredevil Born Again.
It never paid off.
Didn't pay off. Do you think that like this news means that no Luke Cage, no Iron Fist? Because would they have announced them all at the same time?
I do think they're taking their baby steps, and they're trying to, and also because this is probably going to be one of the leading Disney Plus television shows for Marvel, that they're going to try to extend this as long as they can.
Yeah, keep it in the public zeitgeist,
which they should. And so even if, aren't we supposed to be getting a special presentation for Punisher?
Yeah.
So it's like
writing.
It's like, ooh, we're gonna slide him back into Daredevil after he gets his little side project, and then I think every season maybe they add another Defender or another character they're trying to bring into the.
Because I think this might be the only live action Marvel Disney Plus show next year.
Maybe Vision Quest.
Oh, that's
in
true.
there,
So maybe
right.
just those two. So I think you're absolutely right that they'll sprinkle it out.
Yeah.
We'll maybe get a Mike Coulter returns. Maybe it's San Diego Comic-Con. Maybe
also,
early next
Mike
year.
Coulter's
Right?
probably like working out, like cutting, like he's like, I gotta bulk up and then I gotta lean down. If you're gonna wait
Please,
to announce me
just tell
until
me.
I'm back in that shape.
I follow him on Instagram, and every now and then he'll post like, "Oh, Luke Cage, I remember these times," and I'm always in the comments going, "When are you coming back?" Like I'm screaming at him. I'm like, "Interesting."
See, is the
my
evil
TA
show?
in college.
Oh
He was
my
your
God.
TA in college?
I was when I went to Rutgers. I was a double major in theater and communications, and he was my theater TA.
That's so
and
insane.
everyone in the class was like, who's that? Can we,
Who's that fine ass
what are
man?
the fraternizing
Who's that
rules
fine
here?
ass man?
Are we allowed to sleep with the TA?
Oh my God, that's insane.
We want to shout out our sponsor, Miracle Made, whose sheets are keeping us sleeping at the perfect temperature all night, every night. Los Angeles weather has been kind of weird. It's been a little rainy. It's been very hot. I've been sleeping on Miracle Made sheets. The copy says for weeks now. The secret is for years now. And it's a true upgrade. These sheets are very comfortable without the high price tag of other luxury brands. Miracle Made's fabric was inspired by NASA, so it's thermoregulating. Yeah, have you heard of NASA?
I've heard of it.
Keeping your bed at the right temperature all year long. You don't need to swap sheets during the winter or the summer. Plus, Miracle Made's sheets are infused with silver that prevents bacterial growth. My face. Acne-free, baby. Bacteria can clog your pores, causing breakouts and acne, so sleeping on Miracle Made sheets is good for your skin, too. Upgrade your sleep as the weather heats up. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom to try Miracle Made sheets today. And whether you're buying them for yourself or for a gift for a loved one, if you order today, you can save over 40%. And if you use our promo code BREAKROOM at checkout, you'll get a free 3-piece towel set and save an extra 20%. Miracle is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied or you only need sheets for 30 days for some weird reason, you'll get a full refund. Upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/breakroom and use code BREAKROOM to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/breakroom to treat yourself. Thank you, Miracle Made, for sponsoring today's video. One other thing that kind of came out, Charlie Cox came out and said he was not going to be in Avengers Doomsday. I have 2 questions for you guys. 1, do we believe him? And 2, Vincent D'Onofrio came out a couple months ago and said, like, he can't be in Marvel movies because of the Sony rights stuff. I wonder if that's true for the character of Daredevil. Now, obviously, he was in No Way Home, but that was a Sony production, so I don't know how muddy that gets.
People need to stop asking these people these questions.
They're always going to say no.
You can't believe anything they say. If they say yes, I wouldn't even believe it.
The only reason I wouldn't believe it, or I don't believe it, is because we have already a lot of normal, very strong superheroes that are going to already appear in it. Yeah. And it just seems like more money to add Charlie. I would love to see Daredevil in there, but if we have the entire Thunderbolts that kind of have similar, like, we're just fighting and we're very strategic, I think we're gonna get more of those too, other than the Thunderbolts.
I think they're throwing everything but the kitchen sink in this movie.
I think they're still like, we just gave James Marsden this much, and we just gave what did they give Robert Downey Jr.?
$50 million.
Yeah, but like
60.
nothing hit like that moment where everyone came through the portals in.
I hope they go back to it.
Like since that moment where everyone was like, wow, like every person who came through the portal, it was like, damn. And I think they need to top that.
But do you think heightening that is doing the exact same thing and bringing everybody back?
I don't think they care. I think they're like, cheer in those seats and get those viral videos.
Those people. I think Marvel is trying to separate Disney television from their movies a little bit more, which is really disheartening because it's a shared universe and I want to see them all playing together because it makes no sense to make a shared universe where you have a TV show in New York and only the TV shows are in New York and then everybody else is happening somewhere else. But I do think they're trying to keep them separated. We're not gonna see like Jessica Jones in Secret Wars. Yeah. But I don't know. I hope I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Much like in Deadpool and Wolverine, right? It seems like the cameos they're leaning on are like kind of current active Avengers and then these old Fox X-Men characters, right? Those are going to be the big pops. Yeah. It's like, we also then don't need like Netflix era characters as well. Just agreeing with Jessica.
Now, but like, wouldn't you rather see Daredevil in one of these movies than like, Cassie Lang? Maybe a bad example. Maybe a bad example, but like, in Avengers Endgame, you're right. There's a million cameos of like all of these like Proxima Midnight or whatever. Like all these characters that are like so tertiary and they're there and they're fighting. Wouldn't you rather see someone that you've like spent 9 episodes of TV with? Instead of like a side character from Thor 2?
I'd want their powers to be justified in use. And if I can't find a way that their powers are justified in use, then I wouldn't want to see it. Because I don't want to see him going up against Proxima Midnight. I could see him go against Cassie Lang, but also Cassie Lang would just step on him. Like, I would want because that was like the whole thing about like Secret Wars at the end too. I was like, oh yeah, we're mad, like, not Secret Wars, Infinity Wars, not Endgame, the first one. They put people together that made sense to fight against each other. And if I'm putting him up against like Wanda, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah,
what the hell am I doing?
You would be, and same with Jessica Jones. Like she's
God.
like in this at the street level, they are strong, but they're not strong enough. But like the same could sort of be said about when we first met Spider-Man. Like when Tony Stark was like, "Hey, I got a kid," and it's like, "Oh man, you're putting a 16-year-old kid into like a war
100.
with like Captain America? Like what are you doing?" And then he sort of like proved himself. So I think it depends on what it is. Like I think it would be cool if it is a quick cut to like street level crap, and you see like Daredevil leading a crew to safety.
If there was a domain of Battleworld that was just the grounded superheroes, I could deal with it.
Yeah, what if there's a whole land within Battleworld that is just a courtroom?
It's Jessica. It's She-Hulk. It's Daredevil.
I guess a better example would be like, Ghost is confirmed to be in Avengers Doomsday.
I know.
Yes, it was a nice seeing Ghost in Thunderbolts, but you'd probably prefer to have
100.
that movie.
But that's on Marvel. They chose Thunderbolts instead of choosing the Defenders.
Yeah.
Speaking of people who are maybe or maybe not going to be in Doomsday, Daniel RPK, again, it's just a scoop, so take it with a grain of salt, says Marvel Studios really wants Tom Holland to be in Doomsday, but there hasn't been a deal signed. And then I saw another scoop online today from kind of a cryptic. That's if you're familiar with scoop culture, he's got a good accuracy rating, saying it's not like a holdup between Marvel and Sony. So it seems like it's maybe a holdup between Marvel and Tom Holland's camp.
That's interesting. I saw. I don't know where he lives. I don't know if it's here or if it is in the UK.
I bet they got a couple houses.
That's what I assume. There's videos of him going around LA today. And so I'm like, oh, was he doing meetings?
Now, if Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four movie cracks open a bureau, you'll know some compromises were made. You know what I mean?
Well, speaking of Spider-Man, another scoop that we have for you guys, and again, scoop, take it with a grain of salt. My Time to Shine Hello, which we sort of lambasted, I did early in the episode, says Stephen Yeun of The Walking Dead and Invincible and Beef and my favorite project he's been in, Burning, incredible actor, was going to play Sentry in the Thunderbolts and had to step away from that because they did some rewrites or the strike or whatever. It ended up being a scheduling problem. Now rumored for a role in Spider-Man Brand New Day. Now, I want to say this first and foremost. The villain of Spider-Man Brand New Day is rumored to be Mr. Negative, Martin Lee, who is traditionally a Chinese-American character. Stephen Yeun is a Korean American. I don't know if people are trying to put those two things together, just
they
Asian
could change
character,
him.
Asian actor, or if he's looked at for another role.
Yeah.
They could change him to be Korean instead of Chinese. But I also do
Marvel
think...
has certainly done that before.
Yeah, but I also am like, that was the whole point of like the gang that he joined when he came to New York, so I don't know what... I probably wouldn't.
And he could, maybe if they're adding a single Asian character to the Spider-Man mix, maybe they're like, oh, we throw in two. We can have Stephen Yeun play a good guy too. You know what
I would hope Disney would be like, you know what, we could just put more than one race in this movie. So it's just one. So either way, no. But side note, Stephen Yeun playing Sentry. I assumed or I alluded to the fact that he didn't take it because Sentry was going to be a long-standing person in Marvel, and he was like, I don't have the time to do this when I'm doing a bunch of other side projects.
Yeah.
But now if he's in Brave New Day as Mr. Negative, he's probably gonna die.
That could be a one and done.
Probably gonna die.
But also, like, he's so good, and he does seem like someone who deserves a like. We don't know how much longer Invincible is gonna run. We don't know what else he's got in the works. Beef was like a one-off, like mini series. Well, yeah, like limited series, basically.
I think it's just a little
they're gonna do
fear.
season 2, but with new actors.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they are.
like
I think
a
it's
White
just
Lotus
a little bit of fear, and I feel the same way with Ayo saying no to the role too, because she was also like scheduling reasons, and I'm like, you two are growing actors that keep getting roles.
Yeah,
You're probably afraid to be like 10 years.
Yeah.
And I have to come at every beck and call, but
Yeah.
I might also get a really good role that's gonna get me an Oscar.
And I'm sure the audience knows by now, you're right, scheduling conflicts is like such a blanket term for anything. It could truly be scheduling conflicts. You know, like I talked to a buddy who's working on Fantastic Four, and he was like, yeah, no, John Watts stepped away from that movie truly because he was like tired. And that wasn't like any bullshit. But scheduling conflicts is kind of industry speak for anything like, oh, I didn't like this meeting I had with the director, or
maybe,
a better deal,
or also the studio being like, our first choice is suddenly available.
Absolutely.
I think you have scheduling conflicts now.
Hurt.
So, hard to take at face value sometimes, but I don't know. Steven Yeun's such a great actor, and it would be great to have him in any capacity.
Yes, and like I think as you point out, like a good actor who has played villains before. He has that edge to him.
Yeah.
He could be a bad guy in this, and he's kind of like he's definitely older than Tom Holland, but there's like close enough age appropriateness that's kind of fun to see them go head to head if they did.
Yeah, and to be fair, I only read maybe like one book, but I did play the game with Mr. Negative, and I'm like, he is a very conflicting character. It's not, I see where he's going at the beginning, he just becomes bad. He's one of those Killmonger types. So he might be an evil guy that's like, listen, just hear me out. Hear me out,
which is honestly like a lot of what those alternate universe Invincibles are, right?
Yeah, oh my god, they were monsters, but they missed their mom.
And I mean, like, traditionally he is a good guy, works at Feast, all this kind of stuff. Obviously in this MCU timeline, May is dead, and so Feast is going to need someone to kind of step in and step up. I imagine Peter does that to some capacity as like, hey, I'm just a volunteer because no one knows who he is. But then you'd have someone like Martin Lee step up.
Now does this work with, or does this conflict with the other rumor that Sarah Snook from Succession is rumored to be cast as a female villain in this movie? Now, we know a Spider-Man movie can have a whole bunch of villains.
Yeah.
You can have multiple villains. None of this casting is confirmed. So maybe it's an either or.
Yeah. Well, and I hate to be this person, but both because they're redheads and because their names share alliteration, Sadie Sink, right, also rumored to be in this movie in some capacity. Is that a mother-daughter thing,
What are they, 10 years apart in age?
I was going to say, I don't think that's a big
Well, on the cameras, the way
sister,
they
younger
shoot it,
sister?
Sarah will be on an apple box, and then Sadie will always be on her knees, and she will shimmy by.
They could be related in other ways that aren't just mother-daughter. And I saw some speculation online. Well, this could be like a flashback to when you're a kid versus modern era kind of a thing, maybe. Or, again, maybe they can have multiple Asian men and they can have multiple redheads in a movie.
Get me in that film! Impossible. Damn it! Impossible.
Also, do we see Jacob Batalon in this movie?
No, right?
Do you think he has to put on a red wig to fit in?
Hot.
It's such a fun time to be speculating about Marvel stuff because we're early enough where speculation is like so free.
Yeah.
And there's so many exciting projects on the horizon between X-Men and Doomsday and Secret Wars and
Brand New Day, right? And because Brand New Day also coming out next year. Next year we're getting an Avengers movie and a live-action Spider-Man movie.
That's pretty great.
But they're shooting that very soon. Do we think we get a Sony panel at San Diego Comic-Con where they maybe drop some knowledge on us? Or Sony traditionally has not been a big Comic-Con player. Do they just like put it out in the press on a random Tuesday? This will be our new villain. This is blah, 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 blah.
Or do they let Kevin Feige do a Marvel Studios something or other? I mean, that has not happened traditionally
As part of his normal panel, he kind of rolls that out.
One of our sponsors today is Ridge. And I'm so glad they are, since switching to a Ridge wallet. I can't believe there was a time I didn't have one. Zach's pointing to my wallet.
Don't show those credit cards. Don't show those credit card numbers.
What do I have that I can show? I got my Costco card in here, baby. Nope, that's my license. Don't look at that. If your wallet is a massive wad of leather that makes you uncomfortable when you're sitting in the car for a few hours, like again I was this weekend, try switching over to a Ridge wallet. My back always hurt, and I figured it was just because I was getting old, and that's what happens to backs. But once I switched to Ridge, all of that stopped immediately. Ridge wallets have a unique slim design that holds up to 12 cards, plus they have this little thing for if you get cash every once in a while. I almost never carry cash around, but every now and then you just like wind up with cash. So there's a great little slim option for your cash here. They have a sleek design, 12 cards, plus they're made with premium materials like aluminum, titanium, and carbon fiber. So you can choose, hey, do I want a Ridge wallet that's a little bit more durable? Do I want one that's a little bit more lightweight? Or they have over 50 colors and styles to choose from, so you can kind of customize them to get the right fit for you. Ridge's AirTag attachment makes it so that you'll never misplace your wallet again, which is huge. a huge peace of mind. Ridge also makes premium everyday carry essentials like key cases, suitcases, which I've heard great things about, and rings, all built with the same sleek, durable design. All Ridge products have free shipping, a 99-day risk-free trial, and a lifetime warranty with over 100,000 5-star reviews. It's obvious that people love Ridge. I slipped one to my roommate a few years ago, and he loves his. Right now, Ridge is having their huge Memorial Day sale. Get up to 40% off at ridge.com/breakroom. Just head over to ridge.com/breakroom to see their biggest sale of the year. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please tell them that you heard about them from the Breakroom. It really helps us out. Go to ridge.com/breakroom.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, also those chairs that they put out, like, it wasn't, Comic-Con sometimes overshadows big announcements because it's like, there's so many announcements. So the nerds like us can't really keep up. It's like, oh shit, this was just, and now it's this, and now it's this. So you almost can't absorb it. It's almost like a feast, and you can only eat so many things. And you're like, I'm too full for dessert. So sometimes they save those things for a more Marvel-specific or Disney-specific thing, so as not to be overshadowed by all the other Comic-Con.
Because don't they do share? They save stuff for like D23, right?
Right. And I would imagine that Disney encourages them to do that.
And now with the chairs thing was really precedent-setting in so many ways because it was not an event. There was no other reason to do that other than they were about to start filming.
Yeah.
And they didn't want anybody to get accidentally leaked. So
Even though Benedict Wong is walking around in London and he wasn't on the back of a chair.
I mean, again, chairs part 2. Do we do stools?
Whoa.
Do we get benches? What is the next phase? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
well, and there's no D23 happening this year. At least there's no Anaheim D23, the big event that they normally do. Sometimes they do smaller ones in different cities.
It's every 2 years.
But similar to what they did in 2021, I think they did like a Marvel animation panel that year. So I would almost think maybe they do a Marvel animation panel or they do a Marvel television panel or something like that, so that they can do those announcements. Because sometimes they'll save that for D23.
I feel like that Marvel television panel would still have to be in Hall H. Like
absolutely.
it would be so dense.
yeah, but maybe that's the Friday and they do the films on Saturday or something like that.
That'd be insane. That poor Hall H would be just like full for days if they did that.
We are going to be covering Comic-Con in the way that we did last year. Me and Jessica and Eric and a couple other people are going to be in Anaheim, and we're going to have some people here on the Breakroom. San Diego. My bad.
No, John's gonna be in Anaheim.
I'm gonna be writing Space Mountain.
Why are you going there?
See, the way we do it is with a tin can telephone, and Anaheim's right in between. So John's just there holding up the wire.
People are getting clotheslined all across California.
That's how it goes. One other just quick piece of brand new day news. Again, Scooper Daniel RPK said that this movie, Brand New Day, is going to be shooting in Italy and outside of the UK. Outside of the UK is
a lot of places.
Almost
like,
everywhere.
I
don't know exactly what that means.
Outside of the UK, like does the US count as outside of the UK?
Yeah.
So, but
they said we got you,
similar to Far From Home was sort of the word on the street. That surprises me, I guess. I thought it would be more localized to New York City.
Ground-based is what we've heard, or like not supernatural or whatever.
If it's still like in conjunction with Sony, right? They probably don't want it to be in New York because so much stuff is happening between like even 2024 to 2026 in Marvel in New York right now. They're probably like, this is probably easier for both of us. We can meet in the middle.
But like if you think, right, like if Martin Lee is going to be the villain and Feast is such a New York kind of organization, who knows? You know, you could always fly somewhere for another reason, but it is a little interesting.
It's weird. I think it's weird as hell.
Do we think that like, and Brand New Day being the subtitle, do we think this could just be an Eat, Pray, Love kind of situation?
Oh, he just dipped after everyone forgot.
He's trying to find himself again.
He needs to find himself.
He's lost his aunt. He's lost his mentor. He lost his girl. He's like, let me go to Capri. Let me just go to Croatia and be on the beach eating mussels.
Zach might be right. I can see him immediately being like, I gotta go. Also, it's like I need to get out of New York. I need to get away from MIT. I need to get away from everybody. Let me go to Italy.
He meets Stanley Tucci there. Stanley Tucci's like, hey, you found Italy.
You found Italy. Congrats.
You found Italy. Now, can you help me find it?
The first 2 acts are just cooking pasta, banging local chicks. It's not until Act 3 that then somehow you have like a crazy superhero fight.
there's like a villain, and he's like, "Oh man, I'm so full of pasta though.
I'm so full of pasta and post-sex. What am I supposed to do?
I would watch the hell out of that."
Now that's my Spider-Man.
I did see someone in the chat. Maybe it's a little early to do this, Gina, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot. What would you say will be your Gina is right moment for Comic-Con coverage? Or do you want to save that?
Comic-Con
You want to
coverage.
save that for
Till the summer.
for July?
Dang. You know what? Let's save it.
Save a little bit of it, because if you say it now, they're gonna hold you to the thing now. And it's May.
I should just do it every month leading up to it, though. Another
Daniel Day-Lewis is doomed.
Crazy thing. You know what? I'm gonna say we're gonna see Nick Cage as Ghost Rider.
That's not that crazy.
In Doomsday?
crazy.
In
Yeah,
Doomsday?
yeah. He's gonna do a Superman in the Flash.
In the Flash.
Like, fly by, and he's gonna like look over, and you're gonna be like, did they de-age
He's gonna
him?
go.
His head is aflame, and you're like, did they de-age him?
Did they de-age him?
He's doing
his
the
arms and legs look a little tighter than you think.
No,
hey,
he
we
had
promised.
to work out for Spider-Man Noir. So
You're
he
right.
looks
Oh,
great
you're right.
now.
That's a good point. We promised this at the top of the show. A quick headline here: Netflix has acquired the rights to do some broadcasting of Sesame Street. For a long time, the studio was looking for a partner after HBO's deal ended. Netflix, it seems like they're trying to really make a play into children's programming.
And they're doing. Remember, they got Cocomelon.
Yeah.
They got Miss Rachel.
They got Miss
The
Rachel. They got
cult of
Cocomelon.
Cocomelon.
Oh my God! Play that song when my nephew was a baby. I thought a hurricane was coming. He would be running down the stairs.
And importantly, producer Brian and I were talking about this before the show. Like, part of this, there is a carve out because, of course, like Sesame Street started as like a free show on PBS, right? It was intended for like primarily for inner city kids who were not getting exposed to as many like it didn't have the resources given to them that like wealthier
Didn't
kids
have cable and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and like literally like the landmark study that like caused it to be created was like poor kids literally don't hear as many words on a daily basis as kids with more wealth. So like a show like Sesame Street that exposes kids to vocabulary and all this stuff. Show's evolved a lot in the 40, 50 years it's been running. But the important part of this deal is it's still going to be available for free in addition to on Netflix.
Yes.
And this is my like endorsement, the father of a small child, the PBS Kids app. I'm telling you, man, they've got Arthur. They've got Curious George.
Yeah.
They've got Daniel Tiger. They've got Sesame Street. And
Zach and I went to dinner the other day, and he was on his iPad watching Sesame Street
right,
the whole
right.
time.
No, listen.
I was like, that's the only way I could sit still.
I don't want to preach to the crowd here, but like, if you're going out and you want to leave something on, leave a PBS show on. Like they need more support now more than ever, and I think they're getting less and less support. But they really are. It's like
I wonder if their social media numbers help at all in any of this, because their social media is always driving. Everyone's always interacting with their posts, but I'm like, that's not the same as turning them on.
I know. Yeah. I follow all those creatures on.
I follow all of the creatures.
Elmo's always on
I follow
X.
Cookie Monster.
I only follow.
I follow the count. All the count does is count. That's what his tweets are.
Brand. But an endorsement for the PBS Kids app that is 100% free, no ads, nothing shady for your kid. It's a great service, and like also get paid. Sesame Street. It's not a cheap show to make.
Yeah.
So like, take your Netflix money and still give it to the kids for free. I love it.
Big Bird is a diva who requires a big paycheck.
Do you know how much cocaine it takes to get that big ass bird high?
His rider is insane.
Now, if we're talking smoke blunt rotation, Big
let's go.
Bird and Snuffleupagus are always going to You know who's not? The Count. Count it all the time.
Also, Oscar, you don't want that dirty ass.
No. Oscar's in there. We're smoking an indica so fucking fat.
Real ones know Gonger, okay, who's Cookie Monster's little friend. He's a little chef. He has a silly voice, like or whatever.
Yeah.
Gonger's high on my list, okay?
He's high on your
He's
list.
a newer creation. He's high on my high list.
You're crazy.
Hey, fun way to end the show today. Thank you guys so much for watching. That's it for us. Follow Breakroom NR on all social media. We're wherever.
Real quick, what do they call Sesame Street in Wales? Is it like Sir Sarsamer Avenue or whatever? Do you have it? They probably don't have it. Or do they not even watch it growing up?
No, it's
No,
called
I'm
Sesame
sure.
Street.
They I know the British had a version of Sesame Street. Wasn't it like a woman and a
No,
bunch of
Sesame
kids?
Street is Sesame Street all over the world. Listen, I interviewed the cast of House of the Dragon and asked them which Sesame Street character they want to play them in the parody, and they all knew what it was.
But I think
And
they
they're from all over the
They also
place.
still have their own. I don't know what it is though. But I can't. But I swear it was like a woman in a hill. I don't know. And this might be me being high right now. Who knows? Who knows? I smoked a fat blunt before coming
Hell
out.
yeah,
Anger
dog.
got to her.
Hell yeah, dog. Hey, follow us on social media if you want to keep track of Jessica smoking fat blunts. We'll be back sometime this week, maybe on Friday. We don't really know. We'll figure that out. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.